Again, the car sickness. By the time we drove past the bullet riddle, singing the three Kimber Pass welcomes to you, my mouth had begun to water. Sometimes inside my stomach churned and twisted. Farid, my driver, threw me a cold glance. There was no empathy in his eyes. Can we roll down the window? I asked. He lit a cigarette and tucked it between the rainbow to the fingers of his left hand. The one resting on the street wheel kept his black eyes on the road. He stood forward, picked up the scriber lying between his feet, and handed it to me. I sagged in the small hole in the door where the handle belonged and turned it roll down in my window. Farid gave me another dismissive look, this one with a hint of barely surprise and animosity, and went back to smoking his cigarette. He had said more than a dozen words since he departed from Jamarat Fort. Tashkor, I murmured. I leaned my head out of the window to let the cold mid-afternoon air rush past my face, to drive through the treble lands and the Kimber Pass. Winding between cliffs of shell and limestone, I remember it. Baba and I had, drive, had driven through the broken terrain back in 1974. Their imposing mountains sat along the deep groves and the sword jetpacks. Old forests, adobe, walled and crumbling, tapped the cracks. I tried to keep my eyes closed. The snow-capped wind hid crash on the north side, but each time my stomach swelled even a bit, the truck shuttled around, get another turn, rushing a first wave of nausea. Try a lemon. What? Lemon, a good of the sickness. Farid said. I always bring one for this drive. Nay, yeah, nay, thank you, I said. The mere thought of adding acid to my stomach stirred more nausea. Farid snake. It's not fancy like an American medicine, I know, just an old remedy my mother taught me. I rather blow in my chance to wrap up the hymn. In that case, maybe you should give me some. He grabbed a paper bag from the back seat and plucked a half lemon out of it. I bit down on it. I waited a few minutes. You are right, I felt better. I lied. As an Afghan, I knew it was better to miserable than rude. I forced a weak smile. Oh, what tiny trick. No need for fancy medicine, he said. His sunburned on the surly. He flicked the lash of his cigarette and gave himself a self-stanish look in the rear view mirror. He was a tacky, lucky drunk man with weather-beaten face, narrow shoulders, and a long neck punctured by a protruding Adam's apple that only peeked from behind his beard when he turned his head. He was dressed. He was dressed so much as I was. I thought suppose it was really that. It was really the other way around. I wore a woman wool blanket wrapped over a grain parent turban and a vest. On my head, he wore a brown buckle tiggle swiggle to one side like a tacky Hiramitsa Musud, referred to the takis as the Lion of Panjshir. It was Rahim Khan who had introduced me to Farid in Peshawar. He told me Farid was 29, thought he'd very lean face of a man 20 years older. He was born in Mazar-e-Sarif and lived there until his father moved to the family Halaba when Farid was 10. At 14, he and his father had joined the Hia against Sharawi. They had fought in Panjshir Valley for 2 years until the helicopter gunfire had torn the older man to pieces. Farid had two wives and 5 children. He used to have 7, Rahim Khan said when a rueful look, but he didn't lose his thought youngness girls a few years earlier in a landmine blast just outside Halalava. The same explosion that had severed toes from his feet and the fingers from his left hand. After that, he had moved his wives and children to Peshawar. Checkpoint. Farid gambled. I stumbled a little in my seat. Arms folded across my chest, forgetting for a moment about the nausea, but I needed to have word. To Pakistani Multia approached our Dalip Land Cruiser, took a currency gallons inside, and waved us. Farid was first on the list of preparations Ryan Khan and I made. A list included extricating dollars for candle and Afghani bills. My garment, the pakul, ironically, I never wore either if I actually live in Afghanistan. The Polaroid of Hassan and Sorab. And finally, perhaps the most important item, an article bread, black and chest length. Sharia friendly, or at least the Italian version of Sharia Ram Kanu, a fellow in Peshawar who specialized in having them sometimes for Western journalists who covered the war. Ram Khan had wanted me to stay with him a few more days, to plan more thoroughly, but I knew I had to leave as soon as possible. I was afraid I'd changed my mind. I was afraid to deliberate, roommate, agonize, rationalize, and talk myself into nothing. I was afraid to upbuild my life in America would draw me back, and I would head me back into the great bigger river and let myself forget. Let the things I had learned these last few days sink to the bottom. I was afraid that if I let my waters carry me away from what I had to do, from Hassan, from the past that had come calling, and from this one last chance at redemption. So I left before there was any possibility of that happening. As for Saraja, telling her I was going back to Afghanistan was not an option. If I had, she would have booked herself on the next flight to Pakistan. He had crossed the border of the Singh's poverty wherever they were. On either side of the road, I saw Shane's a little village supporting here and there, like these scared toys among the rocks, broken poles and tracked cloth as roofs. I saw children dressed in ranks chasing a soccer ball outside the huts. A few miles later, I spotted a cluster of men sitting on their hangars, like a row of crows and Caracas of an annual burnt-out Soviet tank. Behind them, a woman in the brown burqa carried a large clay pot on her shoulder. Down a rope path there were a string of mud houses. Strange, I said. What? I feel like a tourist in my own countries, I said, taking in the goat herd, leading a half dozen emaciated ghosts along the side of the road. Farid sinkered, tossed his cigarette. You still think of this place as your country? I think part of me always will, I said, more defensively than I had intention. After the 20 years of living in America, he said, serving the truck avoid a path hole the size of the beach ball. I nodded. I grew up in Afghanistan. Farid sinkered again. Why do you do that? Never mind, he murmured. No, I want to know. What do you do that? In this review mirror, I saw something flash in my eyes. You want to know? I stared. Let me imagine. Aga Sahib. You probably live in big 2 or 3-story house with a nice backyard that your garden filled with flowers and fruit trees. All get it, of course. Your father drove an American car. You had servants, probably hazards. Your parents hired workers to decorate the house for the fancy meahnis they threw so their friends would come over to drink and boast about their travels to Europe or America. And I would bet my first son eyes at this in the first time you have ever worn a paku. He grinned at me, rolling a mouthful of prematurely rude teeth. I am close. Why are you saying these things? I said. Because you want to know, he spot. He pointed to an old man dressed with regal throws throwing down the third pad. A large dollar pack filled with scrub grass tied to his back. That's the real Afghanistan, Aga Saib. That's the Afghanistan I know you. You have always been a tourist here. You just didn't know it. Rahim Khan had her warned me not to expect a warm welcome in Afghanistan from those who had stayed behind and fought the wars. I'm sorry about your father, I said. I'm sorry about your daughters, and I'm sorry about your hand. That means nothing to me, he said. He shook his head. Why are you coming back here anyway? Sell off your baba's land, pocket the money, and run back to your mother in America? My mother died giving me birth to me, I said. He signaled pull another cigarette, saying nothing. Pull over, Wood. Pull over, good minute, I said. I'm going to be sick. I tumbled out the truck as it was coming to the rest of the travel alongside the road. By late afternoon, the terrain had changed from one of some beaten peaks and barren cliffs to a green-girt, more rural landscape. The main pass had descended from the Landi Kotal through Shaniki territory to Landi Koan. He had entered Afghanistan at Torkham. Pine trees flanking the road, fewer than I remember, and many of them bare. But it was good to see the trees again after the arduous drive through the Khyber Pass. We were getting closer to Halalabad, where Farid had a brother who would take us for the night. The sun hadn't quite set when he drove into Halalabad, capital of the state of Nangar, a city once renowned for its food and warm climate. Farid drove past buildings and stone houses of the city's central district. There weren't as many palm trees there I was remember, and some of the homes had been reduced to the roofless walls and piles of twisted clay. Farid turned onto a narrow, unpaved road and parked the Land Cruiser along a druided-up gutter. I slid out of the truck, I stretched, and I took a deep breath. In the old days, the wind sang through it. The irregular plains around Halala, where farmers grew sugar cane and impregnated the city air with a sweet scent. I closed my eyes and I searched for the sweetest. I didn't find it. Let's go, Farid said impatiently. We walked up the dirt road, past a few leafless poplar along broken mud walls. Farid led me to the dilapidated one-story house and knocked on the wood-planked door. A young woman with ocean green eyes and a white scarf draped around her face peeked out. She saw me first. Flinker spotted Farid and her eyes lit up. Salam alaikum, Kaka Farid. Salam Mary Majan. Farid replied and gave her something he had denied me all day, a warm smile. He planted a kiss on the top of her head. The young woman stepped out of the way, eyeing me a little apprehensively as I followed Farid into the small house. The dove ceiling was low, the dirt walls entirely bare, and the only light come from the pair of lanterns set in the corner. We took off our shoes and stepped on the straw mat that covered the floor. Along one of the walls sat three young boys, cross-legged, on a mattress covered with a blanket with shirred-up borders. A tall bird man with broad shoulders stood up to greet us. Farid and he hung and kissed on the cheek. Farid introduced him to me as Wade, his older brother. He's from America, he said, Wade, flicking his thumb toward me. He left us alone and went to greet the boys. Wade sat with me against the wall across from the boys, who had ambushed Farid and claimed his shoulders. Despite my protests, Wade ordered one of the boys to fetch another blanket so I'd be more comfortable on the floor and asked Miriam to bring me some tea. He asked about the tree ride Peshawar, the drive on the Khyber Pass. I hope you didn't come across the any dues, he said. The Khyber Pass, a famous forest terrain, as for the bandits who used to use the terrain to rob travelers. Before I could answer, he winked and said in a loud voice, "Of course, no dust would waste his time on a car as ugly as my brother's." Farid was all the smallest of the three boys at the floor and tinkled with him on the ribs with his good hand. The kid giggled and kicked. "At least I have a car," Farid planned. "How is your donkey these days?" "My donkey is better, right than your car." Car, Mishumun, Farid shoot back. "Takes a donkey to know a donkey." They all laughed and joined in. I heard female voices from the adjoining room. I could see half of the room from where I sat. Mariam and an older woman wearing a drawn hijab. Presumably her mother were speaking in low voices and pouring tea from the kettle into a pot. So do you in America, Mirga? So what do you do in America, Mirga? Wiggin asked. "I'm a writer," I said. I thought I heard Farid Kunkel at that. "A writer?" Wade said, clearly impressed. "Do you write about Afghanistan?" "Well, I have, but not currently," I said. My last novel, A Season from Ashes, had been about the university professor who joins a clan of gypsies after he finds his wife in bed with one of the students. It wasn't a bad book. Some reviewers had called it a good book, and one had even used the word riveting. But suddenly I was embarrassed by it. I hope Wade will ask what it was about. "Maybe you should write about Afghanistan again," Farid said. "Tell the rest of the world what the Taliban are doing to our country." "Well, I'm not quite that kind of writer." "Oh," Wade said, nodding and blushing a bit. "You know best, of course. It's not for me to suggest." Just then Marianne and the other woman came into the room with a bath of cups and a teapot on a small platter. I stood up in respect, pressed my hand in the chest, and bowed my head. "Salam alaikum," I said. The woman who had now wrapped her hijab to conceal her lower face bowed her head to "Salam." She replied in barely audible voice. He never made me eye contact. She poured the tea while I stood. The woman placed the steaming cup on the tea before me and exited the room. He buried the feet, making no sound at all as she disappeared. I sat down and sipped in a sipped strong black tea. When it finally broke, the uneasy silence that followed. "So, what brings you back to Afghanistan?" What brings them all back to Afghanistan, dear brother?" Farid said, speaking too high but fixing me with a contemptuous gaze. "Bess, who should snap?" "It was always the same thing," Farid said. Sell this land, sell that house, collect the money, and run away like a mouse. Go back to America, spend that money on a family vacation to Mexico." Farid, when they wrote, his children, and even Farid giggled. "Have you forgotten your numbers? This is my house. Amira Guy is my guest tonight, and I will not allow you to dishonor me like this." Farid opened his mouth, almost say something, reconsidered and said nothing. He slumped against the wall, muttered something under his breath, and crossed his malational foot over the good one. His accusing eyes were left me. "Forgive us, Amira Guy," Wade said. Since childhood, my brother Maud has been 2 steps ahead of his head." "It's my fault, really," I said. I'm trying to smile under Farid's intense gaze. "I'm not offended. I should have explained to him my business here in Afghanistan." "I am not here to sell property. I'm going to Kabul to find a boy. A boy, he rapped it. Yes, I finished the Polaroid from the pocket of my shirt, seeing Hassan's picture again tore a fresh cap of his death. I had to turn my eyes away from it. I handed to Wadi. He studied the photo, looked from me to the photo and back again. This boy? I nodded. Yes. This Hazara boy? Yes. What does it mean to you? His father meant a lot to me. He isn't the man in the photo. He's dead now. Wayne blinked. He was a friend of yours? My instinct was to say yes, as if one step deep level. I too want to protect Baba's secret, but there had been enough lies already. He was my half brother. I slowed at my illegitimate half brother. I turned a teacup to it with a handle. It didn't mean to pray. You are not praying, I said. What will you do with him? Take him back to Peshawar, where all the people were there will take care of him. Habib handed the photo back to Rosette, his thick hand on my shoulder. You are an honorable man, Amiraga, a true Afghan. I crinkled his eyes. I'm proud to have you in my home tonight. I thank him. I changed a glance over the Hafarid. He has looking down now, playing with the tired edges to draw straight metal.